Hi, and welcome to video 6 of our module of projects, tibbles, and importing data. Today we're going to finish this module up and talk about how readr uses the parser. So we're putting this back together with your whole read_CSV to see how it uses these parsing verbs that we've been talking about. So what readr does is it looks at the first 1,000 rows of data. And based on that, it uses the guess parser. So it tries to guess how to parse each column. So you can use guess parser to guess how it will parse the column. So you have some problems that you can encounter if the first 1,000 rows are different or has a lot of missing values. So for instance, if I did, we've seen this one a little bit before, but let me just remind you, if I do this, it's going to parse it as a date. And if I guess that vector, it's probably going to parse it as a logical. You can overwrite the parsing by specifying your own column types. So let's just look for a moment at this challenge data set that's built in to readr. So we can see that what happened was we read it in, and it said, okay, we think X is a double and Y is a logical. But then after column 1000, look, starting in after row 1000, so starting in row 1001, it expected either a 1, a 0, a TF, or a true or a false, and it actually got something that looks more like a date. Okay, so instead I can try instead to overwrite those. So I can say, okay, I'm going to read_CSV, and I'm going to take that example, and I'm going to specify the column types. So I'm going to specify X to be double and Y to be a character. And then if I look at the tail of what I got, I can see now that that works, okay? But I could have specified instead a date type for that. So because it looks like a date now, let's see, how would we do that? I think instead of column character, I'm going to make it a column date. And now let's see. I didn't get any parsing errors, so that's good. And let's look at the tail of that. And now I have, in fact, dates. Okay, so this is how you can use, when you know it's doing the parser, and you can specify and overwrite what it's going to do if it has a lot of NAs. The last thing I want to tell you about is how to write to a file. Okay, so we we've read in CSVs and TSVs. To write to a file, you simply tell it either write_CSV. So you would tell it what to write out. So maybe I do challenge, and then I tell it what path to write out. Okay, so I tell it I want it to go into data, what do I want to call it, challenge.csv. And then I can append by setting append equals true. So some of the options I might want append equals true. That way, if there's a file already out there, it just adds it to the end. Or I can also say if it's an NA, put NA in there. Or I could put not available, or whatever I want to put for that. Okay. So when I do that, now if you do that, you should go out and look, and there should be a challenge.csv file in your data folder, okay, in your current working directory. Okay, so that's the end of this section. You didn't have a lot of exercises to do in this section, so this should be a light time for you. So I encourage you to go ahead and get started with tidyr because it's a little more challenging. That's our next module. And I will see you in office hours.